Hello, hello, hello. FIFA Club World Cup podcast, episode 16, coming in hot. Qooligan, good morning. How are you doing?
You know, there's always a hangover after, a big night out.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday was the hangover. Certainly from the game's perspective, after that unbelievable, all upset.
Yeah.
And 16. My goodness, right?
Yeah, we've been
back in the
been
day
going
before
into...
the European Union came around. That was the legal drinking age in most countries in Europe. But
yeah.
I guess now we have to wait 2 more before we can hoist a cold one legally.
Well,
that is
that legally as well. Legally, yes. So Qooligan, yes. So we had the Real Madrid Juventus game yesterday, which I was fortunate enough to attend, and then of course we had
was that
the
a
Dortmund
fortune?
Monterey.
Do you think that was?
Out of all the games I've been to, that was probably the flattest one. I do have to say. We'll get into that, and then we'll be just looking at the brackets as well and how it's going. But before we get in, obviously, I would be remiss without saying all of those many listeners as well that we see on the analytics, and more each day are coming in, which is wonderful to see. If you think Qooligan should change his perspective and be a little bit more happier and less saltier, or if you think anything or would like us to cover anything, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment wherever you're getting this, or across DAZN, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the usual places that you can get us on the socials as well. And also as well, Qooligan is also doing quite a bit of writing, or your team are doing quite a bit of writing as the Women's Euros is about to kick off as well.
So excited.
Hooligan-soccer.com is where you can get all of those musings and those wonderful insights as well. So please don't be afraid to reach out, say hello, follow us. And also we'll be picking up our other podcast this week as well, the Hooligan Soccer podcast as well, which we'll be obviously sharing as well. So yeah, follow, like, subscribe.
We're
those
back, baby.
Things. It's been a little bit of a lull here as we go into episode 16, and then pick up the other one, and then even the transfer window just opened as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to be getting into as well. So fun.
No, I got to do my research on that transfer window. I got to go through and scour the absolute cesspool that is social media.
Well, you can sort of break it up between rumors and confirmed, right? And that's it, because
I know, but it's still like sifting through feces trying to find nuggets. But whatever. I mean, that's the life. That's the life I signed up for. So what can you do?
That's the pirate life that you signed up for, indeed. Exactly.
You do?
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so let's get into yesterday's games, the final round of 16 fixtures.
Final round.
Let's start. Yeah, we had Real against Juve played at the Hard Rock Stadium. Did you get to watch this one on TV?
Oh yeah, no, I watched them both. I watched both of them.
How did it look?
I'd love to get my time back. But yeah, no, I saw it. Hold on, I'm bringing up my notes.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing with a game like this. Your expectations are high.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And when expectations do not meet reality, there is disappointment. Mm-hmm. So the mathematical equation for this game is E expectations minus, right, our reality equals disappointment. Okay, so that's my new formula for how I gauge a soccer game is E minus R equals
D. Yeah, I think that's.
And if it's E plus R equals A for awesome, right? I mean, yeah, it's just, or F for fulfilling. I don't know. Math was never my strong suit, but I was going to say
Pythagoras and Einstein would be very, very proud, as well as Newton as well. They would agree on that one.
You're right. And Euclid would be having an absolute, he'd be plotzing all over the joint. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Even sitting in the stadium as well, it was quite flat. Just to sort of, just to get going. The stadium was full. I think 68,000 attendees as well.
Yeah. No.
90%
no
Real
qualms
fans
from the crowd. But again, you can hear the difference between the European teams and their supporters and the
international
South
transient
American
ones, right?
Right? The South American teams and their supporters.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say South American. Let's just go with CONCACAF. Let's go with CONCACAF CONMEBOL supporters, right? For lack of a better term. And Yeah, there's definitely a difference in passion there, or certainly a difference in volume.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe passion and volume are the same, maybe they're not.
Yeah.
But
well, I think the difference is, I think in that sense, right, is the South American CONCACAF teams are actual sort of from the countries, and I imagine have traveled. My suspicion of all of these Real Madrid fans that were in the stadium, how many of them actually traveled from Spain versus how many of them are basically US based or sort of, closer geographically as well. So it's kind of, again, there was a lot of, this is our first Real Madrid match. We've seen a lot of it as well. I mean, candidly as well, it was to be honest, my second Real Madrid match that I've ever been to. Now, not that I'm a Real fan or live in Spain, but there is that nuance as well. You can see that. So it seems like South American, sort of Central American team fans travel from the region to come and support. A lot of US-based fans already inside who are coming in and have an interest because they do watch and are fans, which is absolutely fine, versus the true hardcore Madristas, as they would know, in terms of getting the whistles and the white handkerchiefs at the Bernabeu, right? I think you're right. In terms of the atmosphere, it was very flat. And I recognize that because the loudest the stadium got was on about 60 minutes when Kylian Mbappe started warming up and running up and down the touchline as well.
Exactly.
And that's how it was, right?
Yep.
And so that was like, it was like, oh, what's going on? And then the screens pointed to Mbappe, and obviously he came on. And there was a lot of fan for him.
No, as a game, I found it to be. It had some of the best and the worst aspects of high-level European club football. It was tactically very sound, very structured, very somewhat conservative, probing. Big emphasis on possession, on controlling that midfield. Real would occasionally go throw a high press up, try to disrupt. And yeah, I mean, there you go, right?
Yeah.
Juventus was pretty much the same, and
Juventus
both sides
flat.
were doing it, and it doesn't always make for the most thrilling match.
Mm-hmm. No, it wasn't. I'll say what is interesting is Chouameni, the French, he's a midfielder, as I understand it, was playing against. He's good, but he was playing central defense. He was playing obviously as a back three with Rudiger, and I tell you who else looked quite good is Dean Huijsen, that Bournemouth player who they've transferred in as well. He looked. I
have never seen a player make a move from, no disrespect to Bournemouth, a lower to mid-level Premier League club. Right.
Yeah.
To go from the Cherries to Real.
Yeah.
And not even like bat an eye. It's like he's been there for 5 years. He's only 20 years old, for Christ's sake.
20 years old. Looks very comfortable.
The maturity that he displays, the panache.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons why it's been so easy is that he's Spanish.
He's Dutch Spanish, is he? He's plays for Spain, but with a name like Dean Huijsen.
No, the kid's Spanish.
Yeah.
He moved to Spain when he was 5. He grew up in Spain since he was 5.
Yeah.
Yes,
so he's Spanish.
He's Dutch because both his parents are Dutch.
And Dean is not a very traditional Spanish name as well, right?
But he long ago, and even though he played a few games for the underage, Dutch national team, he made his switch very clear. Dutch fans have made their opinions very clear every time those two nations have competed. No, but he's Spanish, and the fact that he was able to integrate himself in so smoothly, I think, shows it.
Yeah, he looked very good. Yeah,
because there is something to be said for being culturally familiar. I mean, he knows Madrid.
Yeah,
that's where he grew up. This is like
his hometown. Yeah, hometown boy club.
His hometown. So thank you. No, it makes a lot of sense, but still, it shows a remarkable amount of maturity.
No, it does. Yeah, he did look very
Arda
good.
Güler was fantastic. Yildiz, I think, again, was just. I thought Yildiz
big
was
fan of him. He was running Alexander-Arnold. He was all over Alexander-Arnold. He looked very good, and that's one player we're saying talk about not as integrating. I know Alexander-Arnold ended up getting the assist for Garcia to get that header as well, but he did just look. It just looked out of tune. Just the link-up play and the passing, with Rudiger on that right-hand side. As I say, I was waiting to see some of those sort of classic Trent whip balls in as well. Didn't really see any of this. As I say, I know there was that sort of soft, half cross that sort of ended up being a goal, but yeah, he didn't look good. Vinicius looked a little bit out of sync as well, and just out of whack again. Maybe it's the fatigue that we talked about as well. And then you can't.
you have to talk about Valverde, who I thought was, I mean, I think he won outstanding player of the match, but boy, he did everything except get in the goal, right? What a remarkable, I mean, he just was so dangerous, all over the pitch, hitting bangers, forcing saves. And I mean, Garcia, Real better keep their bits on him.
This is Gonzalo Garcia, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Gonzalo Garcia.
Yeah.
That's 4 games in a row where he's either had a goal or an assist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mbappe, I'm not saying that he's going to replace Mbappe because he's not. But if I was him, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of clubs going, I wonder how much money it's going to take to pry him out of Real's hands.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's what was interesting, though, as we talk about also as we start getting into transfer sort of window opening season as well, there were 2 noticeable absences from this Real Madrid team. The first one was Rodrigo, didn't even get on the field.
It's true.
And I know there's a lot of speculation about he's meant to be going somewhere, and it doesn't look like he's in Alonso's plans. And then there was also as well, I don't think he was even on the bench as well. There's that other young Brazilian kid that came from Palmeiras as well, who used to play with Esteban. Endrick is his name. Yeah, he wasn't even on the bench. Now, I don't know if he was injured, but he was also not there. So you've got 2 good young promising forward in Rodrigo, who I'd say is pretty established. So I think they are probably not long going to be more at Real Madrid. So that probably does give Garcia probably a bit of an opportunity to say, okay, there's a pathway here to be a starter as well. So
that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Yeah. And then Juve on the other hand as well. Juve, again, they looked, there was that moment where Colomenu got through as well on Courtois, and he tried to chip him as well. That was a really good pass. I think it was Yildiz who played him through, and he just finishing wasn't great.
Different game. Completely changes. Yeah, absolute, different game. Arse flip, man. But didn't happen.
But Juve didn't look, and it didn't look sort of threatening aside from that. And it was a pretty comfortable game again. So Juve go home. I do agree with you. Number 10, Yildiz. I do like him a lot. He looks very, very good on the ball. And so what is he? He's now just looking at him. He's also 20 years old. So 20, German guys, but German kid as well. So I do wonder if again, Juve of
Turkish. He plays for Turkey, but yes, he was born in Germany.
Born in Germany, plays for Turkey.
He plays nationally for Turkey.
Another, Ozil, Mesut Ozil style as well. A lot of that Turkish German connection as well, right? I think what is interesting for me is I remember growing up how Serie A, the Italian league, was the best league in sort of the, late 90s, early 2000s, right? You had those AC Milan teams. Juventus were always a fortress and difficult to play with. And now we've seen Inter go out and Juventus go out too. And again, it didn't seem like they put up much of a fight for it as well, which just indicates kind of maybe why the level has sort of dropped to a little bit with the Serie A sort of level and contingent.
Yeah. And look, and here's the thing. That was Real Madrid's 66th game this season. Think about that.
And Valverde's played in like 64 of them or something like that. I read
Valverde Valverde actually has played in 64 of them. I know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they still have the hunger, and they still had the fight, and they still had the passion. And I think that was, I mean, they also have an extraordinarily deep pool and deep roster, right? They can. The fact that Rodrigo wasn't around or did everything, they could have pulled him out.
Yeah.
They could have put him on.
They went with Mbappe to get him some match fitness. Yeah.
No, they gave it to Mbappe because he wanted to come out. I didn't, let's just say this. Mbappe came on the pitch and I didn't even notice.
Well, so, I mean, let's be fair though. He's just recovered from gastroenteritis as well. So he's going to be off the pace. Look,
I'm not trying to like cast any aspersions upon Mbappe. It's just that for people who are expecting him to suddenly come on and like hit a brace and boom, hey, I'm back. No, it's going to be a little longer than that. It's
going to take a few games to get back into fitness. And what's interesting is he gets back into fitness. Once this tournament finishes, they go on vacation, rest for 2 weeks as well, and then back to preseason as well. So it is a bit of a stop-start sort of process, right? Okay, so that leaves Real Madrid through, and that means they are also going to be playing against Dortmund. And this was the other fixture, this Dortmund-Monterey game.
Yes, Dortmund-Monterey.
Also, I mean, I also watched this game as well and felt, I have to say, Dortmund did look aggressively dangerous once they got those through balls as well. I thought, is it Guirassy as well? I think he's Ghanaian or I think it's Ghanaian as well. He's beast, absolute beast, quick, lethal, direct.
Well,
really liked
not
him
lethal
right?
enough as he admitted himself. He's like, yeah, I probably should have had that.
Yeah, there's a third one that he probably could have got his hat trick there.
He's from Guinea, by the way.
Guinea, is that it? Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. No, he was really good. And then Monterey also just looked as though they were just outplayed, and even though they did have more possession, more shots.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I watched the first half, with glee because Dortmund looked so good. I mean, they were absolutely vibrant, sparky. Like we said, Guirassy was just tearing it up. Should have had a hat trick. Should have had a hat trick. He was a little profligate and wasteful in his finishing, and that was a mistake, right? I mean, I threw my arms up in agony when Joe Bellingham made a dumbass tackle along the line, got himself a yellow card. Now he can't play against his brother. That's what you do when you're 19, because you don't have 2 brain cells between your ears. And you've got more. It's like, dude, Joe, seriously, come on.
You didn't need to do that. You didn't need to do that.
I guarantee you his brother was texting him saying, ha! I mean, I would love to see the text messages between these two.
The banter. Oh my God. We mentioned this as well on the last episode, didn't we? I said, just watch out for those stupid yellow cards, like celebrating and taking your shirts off and stupid tackles. And it happened. And it's a shame because he doesn't get to sort of go up against his brother. It would have been a wonderful story. And it would have been
a story, right? I don't know what anything would have come of it, but it would have been a nice story. And
yeah. And then quick quiz for you, Qooligan. Can you name the other 2 brothers who are playing in separate teams at this tournament?
Oh, wow. Broadside.
They're French, but they're French, but they play for Italian teams.
Oh,
Thuram brothers.
The Thuram brothers.
Inter and Juve. Yes, they had 2 brothers as well that competed.
That's good. It's a good pull. That's a good pull.
Yeah. But
I needed one hint, and I got it. Yeah.
You forgot to ask a friend. Yeah. Okay. So
it's phone a friend. Phone a friend.
So it looked sort of pretty comfortable as well. So that sets up Dortmund against Real.
But it wasn't. Hold on. I gotta give some props to Monterey, because they looked completely downtrodden in the first half. I mean, they had very little, except for this guy Corona, who was fantastic, right? He was just all over the place. And then another player, Canales, they were trying, and Kobel from Borussia saved them, because they had shots, as we saw with Monterey against Urawa. They can shoot from distance, and they have absolutely no qualms about 30, 35 meters. No problem. I'll just bang one in.
Yeah.
And they were doing that. Kobel kept it calm.
Yeah.
But they made some changes, and there was some managerial news that was shown on the Monterey side as well as on the Borussia side, when in the second half, Monterey came out hard, right? Really, really hard. They scored in the 48th minute, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, wait, Berterame just headed it in.
Yeah.
Oh, we got ourselves a game. And they took that advantage, and they built on it, pressing. Borussia got pushed way back. They lost the midfield, right? Borussia makes a triple substitution, gets some fresh legs on. It begins to balance it out a little bit more. But that second half was almost all Monterey. And in the 91st minute, Sergio Ramos gets up, climbs his little ladder.
There's the header.
Up for the header.
Just curled around.
Just a touch outside of the wrong type of curve on it.
Yeah. And
if he hits that and it goes
Sergio Ramos doing
time,
Sergio Ramos things. Yeah. A classic Sergio Ramos, right?
I don't think Borussia makes it through the extra time.
I
don't think they make it through the extra time.
Yeah,
no way.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
I mean, I don't want people to think that this game was in fact, I think the Real game was far duller than this one.
Agreed.
I thought this was a much more scintillating, exciting match, if only because Monterey woke up and made a game out of it. And you were sitting right there until the final whistle going, can they? That's good soccer. That's the way you want it to be.
That was entertaining. Yes. So so well done, Dortmund. Obviously, unfortunate for Monterey as well. But again, for a club like Monterey, they have done well in terms of also just financially as well. They've been able to obviously get through as well.
They got some moolah, baby.
They did get some money as well, so maybe they can pay get another Sergio Ramos like player and get some pay his salary demands as well. So this now gives us a complete bracket for the quarterfinals. Yes, and what is interesting is on one side of the bracket you have all UEFA teams, all 4 big European teams, which are going to knock themselves out. And then on the other side, you have the AFC, the CONMEBOL. Is that correct? Have I got that one right? I was confused.
Very good. Got it right.
And of course, one UEFA team in Chelsea. So it's if you're on that top half of the bracket, whether you're Fluminense, Al Hilal, Palmeiras, Chelsea, you're thinking there's no reason why we can't get all the way to the final.
Oh, absolutely. Right? All 4 of those teams have a path. 100%.
They all have a path. On the other side, and you must be licking your lips as well, saying, okay, you've got 4 of the 4 massive juggernauts who all have sort of history of having won the Champions League before. You've got current Champions League, basically Champions League champions. You've got German champions. You've got Real, who I don't think they won the league, but they're obviously superstars, and then Dortmund as well, who are obviously quite competitive as well. They're going to knock each other out. So it's I would not want to be on that side of the bracket because Bayern could turn over PSG. You don't know. It's going to be a lot harder to predict. Well, all of them are going to be hard to predict, but it does set ourselves up for, maybe it could be the case that Chelsea go all the way through to the final and you get a UEFA final. Probable, but upsets happen along the way, so do you want to,
they do. It's a UEFA Squid Game. All right. It's just, I still think PSG's got all the mojo, right?
Yeah,
and we've seen teams that have all the momentum and all that mojo fail. Mm-hmm. I don't see PSG failing. I think the PSG Bayern game has the potential to be one for the ages. I think it's going to be it should be a banger.
Yeah.
I hope they decide to play. I hope that they choose to play attacking football and not low block football.
Strategic, low block, exactly.
But whereas I think the Real Borussia game, I think Real are going to be initially very defensive minded. They're going to try and absorb that Borussia, that strong Borussia attack and hit them with counters. Yeah. But I don't know. You really could go toss up, but I think if I was a betting person, and I am not, but if I was, I would be picking PSG to go through. PSG over Bayern.
Yeah.
So I'm sure about Real Dortmund. I think probably Real. My gut says Real.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the 4th of July, where you've got these 2 CONMEBOL teams coming in. You made the call. Estevao to score his first goal against Chelsea. I like it.
I think
it has such poetic resonance that I think it's going to happen. I
can see it happening. Yeah,
I am willing it to. I am manifesting it myself. I want that to happen.
Have you taken any frog toxins lately and had any visions, or is that still yet to come?
No, the frog's in the terrarium. Frogs in the terrarium. When they come out at any time. No, I actually think Palmeiras will take Chelsea on this one.
Okay.
No disrespect to your beloved Chelsea, but I think it's time for them to go down. Now, Fluminense and Al Hilal. Okay, I made the call of the tournament with the Al Hilal thing, but I don't think Al Hilal can do it again. I don't think they can. I
combined 84 years experience at the back for Fluminense of the goalkeeper and Thiago Silva.
I think one of the reasons why Al Hilal was able to do what they do is because Man City is an attack-minded team. They don't, and they have not thought defensively as their primary objective. They look to beat you on the attack and outscore you. Fluminense does not. Fluminense's defense first, everything else comes second. They are going to dull whatever Al Hilal can throw. The only X factor is whether Aldasari will be healthy again. Right? Maybe he's back. That gives them a slightly different edge. And let's also not forget, all of Hilal's attackers, with the exception of Aldasari, are all Brazilian. Now, I'm not intimating that there's some sort of like, ooh, Brazilians don't like playing against each other. I'm just saying that the Brazilian defense know how to take attackers. These guys.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. They're not going to be intimidated by them. Yeah.
No, they are not scared by Brazilian attackers because they're like, bring it. This is every day. So I think Al Hilal finally hits the wall. I think Fluminense goes through. I do think Palmeiras takes Chelsea. And I think that
Brazilian semifinal. Wow.
Absolutely.
That would be wonderful.
I think we got a Brazilian semifinal. And in which case, I don't think it matters who goes through, right? Whoever it is gonna go in and take on PSG. I don't think it's gonna be a thrilling match. But I think it's going to be one hell of a physical match.
Going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, Qooligan, that's you've called it. I agree with you on the Fluminense. I do think Fluminense probably just get to overpower Al Hilal. I again, with Chelsea, you never know what Chelsea you're going to get, right? There is also the other thing is, again, just remind me now, isn't there a sort of another opening of a transfer window for the teams in the quarterfinals here as well, where they can actually bring in players? And Chelsea have been busy where they've signed Gittins from Dortmund. I was watching some of his clips last night on YouTube as well, and he is dynamic. And I think, and again, he's already in the US as well. They signed is it another Brighton player as well? They seem to be just plucking Brighton players as well. João Pedro, another Brazilian striker.
Gittins can play for Chelsea though.
I don't know, but he didn't play yesterday. But he wasn't on the bench yesterday for Dortmund. Yeah, he wasn't on the bench yesterday for Dortmund.
No, they can sign him, but they can't suit him. Right? So he can't play, but they can
play for two teams in the same tournament. So they've signed Gittins, they've signed João Pedro, and then also as well, I know that again, there's so many rumors with Chelsea. They're just going to keep rotating through players until they find the right balance and basically get what they need. So you don't know what you're going to get with Chelsea. The other concern is, and I hate to say this, Nicholas Jackson's suspension is over, so he is available. and as I said, for me, he is becoming he is more of a liability than an asset. And while he's strong, he's quick, his touch and his finishing does not inspire me with confidence as well. So hopefully they start
Jackson gets a red card against Palmeiras. I think he'd have to be let go. I mean, you'd have to let him go.
That would be 3 red cards in 3 consecutive games that he's played, essentially. Or something like that, 3 and 4 games. Yeah, again, we're not saying but yeah.
There comes a point where you go...
Yeah, well, as I say, you're a liability. I mean, I think that I was looking at the statistics last season in terms of like goal scoring opportunities, and they were comparing Delap against Jackson. And I think Jackson had something like twice as many sort of goal scoring opportunities and scored 2 less than Delap or something like that as well. So just in terms of, it just speaks to efficiency there. But anyway,
Delap hasn't slotted in perfectly, but he at least is
3 games. He's scored and an assist, and he scored. Yeah, and he scored and he's assisted as well. So he's getting settled in as well for sure. I agree with you. I do feel that Estevao scores against Chelsea. It's just, as I say, it's too good not to be written and not to sort of happen in terms of those opportunities. Again, just depends on what type of Chelsea you're going to get. Are you going to get the Chelsea that are up for it on it, or are you going to get a slow, lethargic Chelsea? Just looking where they're playing at Lincoln Field, right? So that is Philadelphia, is that correct? If they're playing at Lincoln Field. Playing at 9 p.m. as well. So it's going to be a little bit cooler than it will be versus the Fluminense Al Hilal game, which is at Camping World in Orlando at 4 p.m. Eastern time or 3 p.m. Eastern time.
I don't think at this point, I don't think weather is as big of a factor. These players now have at least been climatized as well as they can be. What it does mean, though, is thunderstorms and weather delays are still a thing.
Impact.
That's still a thing.
Yeah.
And that is more risky than everybody else is sort of adjusted with it. I haven't seen any significant weather problems in terms of, I mean, obviously you have cramp if you're playing 120 minutes and all that, but that would happen anyway.
Yeah. The only advantage is the PSG Bayern game is going to be at Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So again, they're going to be inside. So obviously there will be climate control there. So they'll have some advantage. So there won't be any disruptions there. Okay, Qooligan. Well, that brings us to the end of the round of 16, end of episode 16. We are going to go on a day or two break and then come back. I think what we'll do is we'll probably come back after the 4th of July, the first round of quarterfinals, and look back at those games and then look into the next round of games and then go from there. So until then, guys, as always, thank you very much for listening. Qooligan-soccer.com. Like, subscribe, follow, all of those wonderful things. Until then, thank you, Qooligan.